another familiar face, Mark Cooksey, Managing Director of ABx Group. And in this video, we will be focusing on the rare earths side of the business. And to that end, more results out with ANSTO, this time specifically about column leaching. So Mark, will you explain a bit about the process and the results you're announcing?
Yeah, hi Danielle. So we've all said how the really exciting thing about our project is it's ionic, which means you can extract a lot of rare earths using a low-cost process. And the MREC we recently produced has a very high proportion of heavy rare earths. Now, all the work we've done to date has been using tank leaching, which is, you can imagine, just a stirred tank where you have your ammonium sulfate solution and you put your ore in and stir it and you get rare earths being extracted. We're also looking at heap leaching for the project, which is where in a real project you'd have basically a big pile, a heap of the ore, and you pour the ammonium sulfate on top. That percolates down through and extracts the rare earths as it goes, and you collect that solution at the bottom. So to test that in the lab, what we use is ANSTO, and they do what's called column leaching, where they have a column, maybe 150 millimeters in diameter, a couple of meters high, and the same principle, you fill it with the ore, you pour the ammonium solution into the top at a controlled rate over several days, and you measure, well, that solution goes through, extracts the rare earths as it goes down and through, and you collect it at the bottom. And that's the testing we've been doing, and we just got the preliminary results.
So it sounds like a strong cup of coffee. Can you tell us about the significance of the results?
Yeah, well, what's fantastic is the extractions, the rare earth extractions that have continued to be very high. In fact, even higher than we got using the stirred tank. So with the sort of direct comparison, it looks like, say, for dysprosium, using the stirred tank, we got 70% extraction, and then in this column leach, we got 76%. So, I mean, the real purpose of this testing was just to check that it wasn't worse, which it can be sometimes. Actually, in our case, it was better. And the terbium was even better, 79% extraction, according to these preliminary results. And sort of bonus again, it looks like the extraction of impurities, particularly aluminium, is very low. And so what that should all mean is that the final solution, has a high amount of rare earths and a low amount of impurities, which is what you want.
Love that for us. Now, let's talk about the rare earth projects themselves, because it does appear that since we last spoke, you've been granted a new exploration license, sort of sandwiched between existing plots.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So our main resort, where our resource is defined, is actually on a couple of different exploration tenements, and we had a gap in between that, which this new lease we've just been granted fills most of that. Even then, we've deliberately excluded some areas within that are actually high-value agricultural land, so we've got no interest in exploring there. But this is going to allow us, hopefully, to sort of join up that resource and also, really importantly, develop more understanding of what leads to the formation of ionic clay. I mean, that's the real holy grail. If you can understand how it forms, then you're more likely to find it elsewhere. We've got other exploration tenements around the northern Tasmania area, where we're exploring, and so we want to make that as effective as possible.
And finally, speaking specifically about the rare earth side of ABx Group's business, Mark, what are those next big milestones for us?
Yeah, so this column leaching testing, we were just talking to ANSTO yesterday. It's going to be finished, right just before Christmas, and then it'll be unloaded and properly assessed and measured in the new year. So we'll be able to report those results. Also, conveniently, the amount of solution we've generated in these tests is sufficient to produce another MREC sample. We're getting a lot of demand from customers for samples from the first MREC we produced that we just announced a week or two ago, and we're going to produce some more probably in the first couple of months of the new year. And then we'll be announcing exploration results and looking at the economic studies of the project. So it's there's a lot of balls to juggle at the moment, but that's good because everything is going well.
And we really love hearing about it all. So thank you very much for today, and looking forward to speaking to you very soon.
Great. Thanks, Danielle.